life will suffer the consequences. The wisdom of Elijah's inside of the conscientious, so I move with it.
Excuse. What is it about the Negro? I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
That's a part of it, and that grows out of something else. You can't thingify anything without depersonalizing that something. If you use something as a means to an end, at that moment you make it a thing and you depersonalize it. The fact is that the Negro was a slave in this country for 244 years. That was a willful thing that was done. The Negro was brought here and changed, treated in very inhuman fashion. And this led to the thingification of the Negro. So he was not looked upon as a person. He was not looked upon as a human being with the same status and worth as other human beings. And the other thing is that human beings cannot continue to do wrong without eventually rationalizing that wrong. So slavery was justified morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, everything else. And it seems to me that white America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma, and that can never be overlooked. So I think these things are absolutely necessary. The other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
Apart from wanting to live better, which all of us want to do, to raise one's children in a better way, to be better, does the Negro in America know what he wants to be?
I'm convinced that almost every Negro in this country, other than those who have been so scarred by the system that they've become pathological in the process, and we all have to battle with pathology. Nobody really knows what it means to be a Negro unless one can really experience it. And I know we all have to battle with this constant drain of a feeling of nobodiness. But in spite of this, I think the vast majority of Negroes in this country know that they want to be people, they want to be men, they want equality, period. It just boils down to that. And we haven't been able to be people. We haven't been men because of all of the conditions that we've lived with and the syndrome of deprivation surrounding conditions, whether it's in housing, in the economic area, or in schools, or in the vicious credit practices that we face in the ghetto, and all of the problems of closed doors and constant defeats. But in spite of all this, I think we all know, basically, that we want to be men. We want to be persons judged not on the basis of the color of our skin, but on the basis of the content of our character.
All right, family. All right, family. Let's get this thing started. Of course, happy born day to the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today is Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. You know, they gave themselves a day off on Monday, but today is his actual birthday. So we definitely wanted to start off the show by saluting him. But welcome, family. Welcome to a special episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. I am the God Sincere Love here with the nicety girl in the building. How you doing tonight, beloved?
I'm good. Peace, Black Power, and reparations.
Yes,
Everybody.
indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so again, this is a special episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. And tonight we have our first reparations candidate. Our brother Marcel Dixon is in the building. He is running for Congress in South Carolina against Jim Clyburn, who needs to be unseated ASAP. And so we're going to have a great conversation tonight about his campaign, how we can all get involved, how we can all support, what his plans are. You know what I'm saying? We're going to lay it all out for y'all. So I hope y'all ready. You know, click the like, click the share, click the notification bell. Definitely share this out tonight. Invite some people to come tap in so we can get as many people involved as possible to come support our brother's campaign. So let me do my little intro real quick before we bring the brother on screen. So Gregg Marcel Dixon is Georgia born, South Carolina raised, and Geechee accented. He is a teacher currently living in the same majority Black, impoverished rural county in which he was raised and educated. He is running on a reparations platform to be the next representative for South Carolina U.S. Congressional District number 6. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our guest for this evening, Mr. Marcel Dixon. Peace. How you doing tonight, brother? Welcome to the Godcast.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Man, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be here. We know that you are very busy and you got a lot going on. You got a lot on your plate right now. You know what I'm saying? But we definitely wanted to use our platform to support you as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? To let people know that you're out there, make people aware of your campaign and what you're trying to do for Black people. You know what I'm saying? And we appreciate you for that as well.
Thank
so
you.
Definitely thank you for being here.
Absolutely. When I saw him, I was like, reparations, Black Agenda went on his website. I didn't see people of color, minority.
Now,
If
if you ever see that on my website, you better believe it's been hacked. Now, that's the only way that's gonna get on my website if it's been hacked. No, I even have my logo, repair Black America to fix America. The reason I did that, it took me a while to come up with that. I wanted to come up with something that the moment people were introduced to me in this political atmosphere, they will know exactly what I was about and which group I was prioritizing. People prioritize illegal immigrants. Some people prioritize LGBTQ. Some people prioritize the white working class. So why is it such an issue when someone prioritizes Black Americans? In this context, Black Americans are referring to the descendants of those who were emancipated at the end of the Civil War. No one prioritizes us. They give good talking points to us. They show up in church today before it's time to vote to get our votes, get the votes from us, but they do not prioritize us. So I want to put it in my logo to show that we were different.
Thank you so much for having a Black agenda. It was just a breath of fresh air for me. And I read it over. Let me tell you, I read this thing over and over. I was looking for it. I was like, it's hiding. He's hiding the word people of color. He's hiding the word minority. He's hiding it. So I went through that thing with a fine-tooth comb. I was just looking because I'm like, this is too good to be true.
Yeah, we've had to get into the habit of doing that because, you know, the system is always refining itself and coming up with new ways to try to, you know, trick us into going with things that are against our own best interests. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so that's another part of the reason why we want to have you on and to come before the people because this is part of the vetting process as well. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are skeptical. A lot of people are just kind of like, man, forget about this whole political process. Ain't nobody going to do nothing for us. You know what I'm saying? And they just don't trust anyone anymore. And so, you know, we got to give people who are speaking our language an opportunity to show themselves. And so, again, we thank you for being transparent and for being accessible in that way. And so before we actually get started with the conversation, I absolutely want to shout out the good brother over at TD Hip Hop, because that's where I first saw you. You know what I'm saying? I haven't been following you for a long time. I wasn't even aware that you existed until I saw you on TD Hip Hop's platform. You know what I'm saying? So definitely shout out to him. That was a great interview, and we're going to do our best to try to follow that up.
Right.
And so I always like to start off by going all the way back to the beginning, right? We usually do this on Wednesday and Thursday evenings with different entrepreneurs and business owners, and we have them share their story about how they got into their business. But you are in the business of repairing Black America, which is the business that we all need to be into. And so bring us all the way back to kind of a little bit about your upbringing and how you got into this whole campaign that you're on right now.
Well, as it says in my biography, my parents, both sides, maternal and paternal, and their mothers and fathers, even the ones that went up to New York City, as all of their sides eventually did, all of them have lineage right here on the South Carolina coast. It's South Carolina's Creole coast. People think Creole, they think Louisiana. But no, South Carolina has a Creole coast as well. It's called the Gullah Geechee culture. And we're the descendants of the rice-growing Africans that were enslaved here on the coast. And then Georgia, parts of northern Florida, and a tiny bit of North Carolina. And because it was so swampy here and the climate was so subtropical, the white human traffickers, the enslavers, they could not deal with a tropical climate. But of course, the Africans who were coming from the Kingdom of Congo, which is primarily modern day, the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Congo, Angola, and then southern Nigeria and the Senegambia, which is Senegal, Gambia, and parts of Mali. They were accustomed to obviously being in a tropical climate. So they would leave us here on the sea islands and in the swamps. So because of that isolation and because of the presence of so many different people from different parts and different tribes of the African continent, different African civilizations, a Creole culture developed. We were able to maintain a lot of our African customs and traditions, but then we modernized them. Well, I should say modernized them, acclimatized them to this continent, and also mixed in some of the practices of the enslavers who were largely people from England. So to this day, we have our own unique language, we have our own unique cuisine, our own unique folklore, our own unique forms of folk magic that we call hoodoo. People think hoodoo belongs to all of Black America. No, hoodoo is a Gullah Geechee word that means bad luck, but now it's a word that people use to encompass all of Black folk magic. We have our own folk styles of fishing, cooking, dress, music. James Brown was Gullah Geechee. His mother was. So that's just to let you know about the type of Black American soul that we epitomize. And of course, South Carolina having such a large Black population, there was very little European admixture among our people. So a fun fact, genetically speaking, according to those ancestry tests, if you believe them, the Gullah Geechee are the blackest Black American ethnic group. We usually have only between 3 and 4% of European ancestry. And my mother has taken ancestry tests, my sister, my aunts, I have, and that is so true. All of us, none of us are more than 4% European. I am 3. My mother, who is far lighter complexion than I, and my sister were 3%. Well, I am 4 and they were 3%. So that is my cultural background.
Okay, so yeah, and what brought you to the point where you decided that you had to get James Clyburn out of this seat, and what made you take this leap of faith? Because I know that you didn't have a political background or anything like that. So what brought you to this point to say, nah, I got to do this. I'm not waiting for anybody else. It's going to be me.
You're absolutely right. I do not have a political background. I am still a political toddler. But you know what? They say toddlers learn the fastest, right? They say because their minds, the synapses are going all off. So what happened was I'm a teacher. I teach in the rural county in the area where I have lived my entire life and where I was raised. And I'm a part of a region called the Corridor of Shame. It refers to a region in South Carolina that is deeply impoverished, very rural, majority black, and they're located along South Carolina's I-95 corridor. As a teacher, of course, poverty, which is a result of anti-blackness, is not, a coincidence that the blacker the area, the more impoverished it is, the more troubled it is, whether it comes to drugs, whether it comes to lack of resources, such as healthcare facilities, even getting clean, safe drinking water. All of those issues meet in my classroom. So as a teacher, I push myself for my students because I was a student of this here district. I remember teachers being there one day and leaving for greener pastures. I was determined not to be that type of teacher. I was determined to stay. So many of my classmates would ask, well, you ain't left here yet? And I'll say to them, no, because I don't want to. And I didn't. I felt that my students deserved to have not just someone who was going to stay here for them, but who was going to love them enough to be tough on them and yet push them to live up to the expectations and to the standard that I know and knew then they were capable of reaching. And I would pour blood, sweat, and tears, sleepless nights into my students. And I would see these students go from being in 4th grade, 6th grade, not being able to read, to leaving my class being able to read above grade level. In my district, where the average child is not reading above or on even grade level, 30% are on or above grade level out of all the students. And the majority of students are Black Americans. I mean, they look like all of us here on this panel. That wasn't happening with me. I keep my paperwork in case anybody wants to try me. Every year at the end of my class, it will be between 75% of my students on or above grade level. And that included the Black boys as well, the group that was usually at the bottom. And to me, it seemed like too many people had become comfortable with that level of academic failure. Well, not me. So I got people all the time. I had some administrators. When I would teach my kids big words, I would have administrators telling me it's not practical and I shouldn't be doing it. And I say to them, these parents are entrusting me to expand the horizons of their children. I went to school with a lot of these parents. We didn't get it, not because our teachers didn't care about us, but because they were being shouldered with the responsibility of repairing this society that is these representatives' responsibility to repair. So how much could these teachers have done? So I was trying to do that, and I got pushback from administrators, even had some lie on me, got pushback from some parents who felt I was too tough on their child. And I would say, if other people were tough on your child would be sitting in my class on 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, reading on a 2nd grade level. So I made no apologies for what I did. I would see my kids transform. I have letters from a lot of them. One of them even said that I saved their life. I have parents that have told me that. I will later on see those same kids. It never fails. I'll be reading the news in the morning. That kid's dead. That kid's in jail. That kid done murdered someone. It was usually the Black boys. The Black girls, not so much. But I would see them in my town. There's nothing wrong with staying in my town. I stayed in my town. But I would see them living a life of poverty, working in the service industry, which there's nothing wrong with. But the thing is, I knew my students. I know my students, and I knew those students. I knew that that was not what they wanted. I knew they had other hopes and aspirations. And I would look in their eyes and see that their dreams were crushed. So I was being bothered for a while, saying that I have to do more. I used to think being a teacher was my way of giving back. to my community, especially my Black American community, because my district is majority Black American. So it's really one is the other. So I tried to get legislation pushed to make it mandatory for all South Carolinians to learn more about Black American history. And I wanted them to know the beginning before slavery, which is like African civilizations. But I really want to know about Black inventors. I felt that if white kids could sit down in a public school, turn on television, look at a magazine, read a comic book, and see themselves as kings and queens and explorers and philosophers, our Black kids have those stories too. A matter of fact, a lot of times, some of these white inventors and whatnot are being given credit that really belongs to us. But that's for the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to push to get that done. I was I was never involved in politics, never, because of my religious upbringing. So I tried to call state legislators, they ignored me. NAACP, nasty, ignored me. Our Sharpton's group responded, the chapter in Savannah, because Savannah, Georgia is the main municipality of my area, even though I'm in South Carolina. Savannah, Georgia is the metropolitan area. But they were so overwhelmed and looking for support themselves that they could not have been of assistance to me. So I said, well, let me try James Clyburn, because I knew that he was in South Carolina. People always bragged about him being one of the most powerful people in the country and the most powerful Black politician. And I called his office. He wasn't there. And I was stupid enough to believe when they said to me, we can call you back, leaving your name and number. And I was like expecting a phone call. I said, well, let me not call them back right away. So I waited 2 weeks. I don't want to be pushy. And finally hit me. They ain't calling you back, idiot. So I called them. I said, hey, what happened? They was like, oh, we're really busy. We'll get back to you. Left my name and number again. And every time they would say they will call me back, or someone, if they stopped saying James Clyburn, they said someone will get back to me, and no one ever did. It lit a fire in me, because I started thinking, wait a minute. I started connecting the dots. The environment in which I grew up, in which my students were being reared, in which I am fighting to change, it wasn't my responsibility alone to change. I'm not the one getting the big bucks to change it. He was. And then I was saying, hold on, I'm calling him. I pay you. You work for me. So I stopped calling and saying, now please speak to the congressman. I said, I want to speak to my employee, please. Where is he? That's how I thought. I called so much, they would answer the phone and say, hello, Mr. Dixon. Hey, Marcel. Hey, Gregg. What name they want to call me. And the more they ignore me, the more I became determined that he was not going to ignore me. So I was looking to find him on Twitter, because he doesn't know town halls, of course. They say he does, but he doesn't. And I was trying to say, well, maybe I can tweet at him, because I had never really used Twitter before. I had an account in 2011, but never really used it. I was saying, maybe I can tweet at him, and he'll see it and respond. And I went to a social media influencer page, and I saw a clip of him being confronted by a reparationist here in South Carolina, and I saw the hashtag ADOS. I clicked on it, and that was the beginning of this journey here. I data. I realized that I connected the dots, I should say, between the data, such as Black Americans in 2016 having only $17,000 in wealth at the most, compared to white Americans who are at $191,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, I knew we were bad. That was not a surprise, but actually seeing the figures were eye-opening to me. So this guy took his cell phone out. He confronted Clyburn. He recorded it. And I said, I was feeling so powerless. Seriously, I was like, ain't no need for me to be around here no more. I can't change nothing. All I can do is sit back and watch my people suffer. When I saw this man, his name is Jimmy and Fowler, just to give him credit, with a cell phone, I said, I can do that. It empowered me. So I confronted Pete Buttigieg. I confronted Joe Cunningham, who was the representative for the district next to mine. Now he's running for governor of South Carolina. I confronted Tom Steyer, who was running for president. I confronted in Cobra and NARC. I confronted Black Voters Matter. I was determined to express, if nothing else, the indignation of my people. I confronted Bakari Sellers. I confronted Jamie Harrison, who, when I asked them, what's your black agenda? Because you're mentioning illegal immigrants, you're mentioning LGBTQ, you're mentioning Native Americans. What about your people? The man looked at me and said, last time I look in the mirror, I'm black. I said, that's not an agenda. He had security thrown out. Of course, he's a student of Clyburn. I finally got to the man of the hour. I finally got to Clyburn. And when I confronted him with the data about how we went from having 15 million acres at the end of the 1950s to now just 1 million, when I confronted him that the census undercounts us, so I'm not going to entertain that 12, 13% number, not me. Somebody else could say that. I ain't saying that number. When I confirm that we are at least 18 to 20% of the population, but we make up over half of the homeless
And
and
incarcerated.
when I confronted with the fact that our homes are the most likely to be foreclosed, that we are the most likely to be victims of gun violence, not the perpetrators. We're the most likely to be wrongly arrested. Black men have the shortest lives out of all groups, and black women out of women. He literally had no compassion. But at that same town hall, the only time he seemed to get excited and perked up was when some Hispanic, I don't know how she identifies, they're black when they want to be. They're black on Thursday, then they go back to mejorando la raza and being white Saturday.
Right.
So I don't know how she identifies. But she mentioned illegal immigration. He perked up. He showed none of that interest in our issues. So a few weeks later, I was following him on Twitter, seeing if I reached something I said resonated with him. He said nothing. It was like he was taunting me. He mentioned about the kids in the holding facilities on the border. He talked about the issue going on with the Native Americans up there, Standing Rock, when they was trying to put a pipeline through their land. He said nothing about us, the Gullah Geechee people, who grew the rice that made this country originally, the original source of wealth for this country, losing our oceanfront coastal property, thousands of acres. And all these black people with their big platform, their political acumen, their resources, all of them talking about how bad Clyburn is and how he needs to go. I didn't see none of them doing nothing. So I said, well, you know what? Harriet Tubman didn't escape slavery and go up to New York and say, well, I hope somebody comes and frees the slaves. I'm just going to go and live my life. She said, hell with it. I'm going to do it. So I said, I want to be like Harriet. I'm going to do it. And I entered a world in which I'm very unfamiliar, and I never look back, and I have no regrets. And come with me, I'm going to see it to the end.
Right.
Wow. I mean, I think that should happen in every state, every city, black people the same way, to be honest. So, I appreciate, that, you have to get so angry, and not appreciate, but I do, it's sad that you had to get so angry to get to this point, as we see on social media and just within, family groups and friends. There's a lot of people that look like us that are angry, but a lot of us haven't stepped up to do what you're doing. And so that's where we're at too. It can't just be you doing it. We need some more Marcel Dixons out here, because change has got to happen, and it has to happen quick. Black America is looking to be basically broke by 2030, 2040. We don't have long.
May I say something? I think we are already there. All those predictions were done before COVID-19. I have so much to say. I could talk about this forever.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Before COVID-19 hit, they said we was heading towards zero wealth by 2053. What they didn't say is that 20% of black families already have a negative net worth. So what they should have said is that all of us will soon have a net worth of zero or in a deficit. Because some of us think we got it going on because we can order Uber Eats and we can make Instagram videos and we can go to Mexico or to Dubai on vacation. Some of us
Or
really think
Oprah.
we got it going on. We don't got nothing going on. You know what? Even during the days of slavery, they were allowed a Sunday off here and there and had a good time. That don't mean they were not enslaved any longer, because they were. I also want to say that you're right. It cannot just be me. People always ask, how? Some people are saying, well, don't vote. Some people are saying, no, you need to vote. Strategize your vote. Some people are saying, vote blue no matter who. And you know I ain't with that nonsense. No, here's how we get the policies we demand. By getting the leaders that we deserve. And we definitely deserve way better than what we get from these ones here. And how do we get the leaders we deserve? By becoming the leaders we deserve. I look at Reconstruction. I am a proud South Carolinian. Proud. Why? Because South Carolina is the first state to send a black person to the U.S. Congress. Joe Severani, the first black person to serve in the U.S. Congress. And we all know Robert Smalls, who's one of my inspirations as well. South Carolina was the first state to have a majority black state legislator. This was right after the end of slavery. Our people went from the plantation to the polls and into politics. A lot of them were illiterate. Some records say that the people here in South Carolina didn't even speak English. They spoke a Creole. That Creole is what I already said to y'all, Geechee, which is a language, and I am trying to learn. I know a lot of words, but I'm actually trying to learn the language. But you can still hear the accent here. You still use expressions that are not used anywhere else. They went straight from the plantation to politics. They didn't worry about whether they were cut out to do it. They didn't do it because they necessarily wanted to do it. They did it because they knew they had to do it. How are we going to get the policies we deserve today? We have to get into politics, not as the voters, no, as the candidates, and then as the leaders. There are, according to the phony census, claims that we're 50 million of us, but yet they undercounted us they missed 4 million of us in 2010, no pandemic. Now they're saying it's double that amount. So they've missed at least 12 million of us this time around, at least until the preliminary data comes out. That is what they're saying. So we know it's more than just that phony 50 million number. But even if it was just 50 million, there are enough of us where we can run for office throughout this nation. I'm talking federal, okay? Federal first. Because during the civil rights movement, they went to get federal legislation because there was a hodgepodge of states allowing this. Some didn't allow that. Some allowed this. That wasn't working. When you got federal legislation, it covers everything. And they use that federal legislation to sue for rights at the state level. So we have to become our leaders. I don't know why some of us are not getting that. We need to stop sitting on Twitter. We need to start saying, I support you, man. No, don't support me. Run with me. I need the donations, but I also need fellow candidates running with me. And there are some. There's like Tamara Shealy in Georgia, who's running on a reparations platform. You have William Somerville, who's running on a reparations platform in California. And, you know, there's a young man I read just announced, Brandon Dean, who just announced that he's running for Senate of Alabama. And he says he's a supporter of reparations. There needs to be a whole lot more of us, though. So that is how we get the leaders we deserve, by becoming the leaders we deserve. Because right now, all those statistics I just mentioned to y'all, they're awful. We all know that, right? Mm-hmm. The Congressional Black Caucus has access to more data than I. That's the data points we know. That's the data point that's been studied. Imagine the data that we don't know about, that they know about, and they still are not being moved to do policies specifically for us. They are still sitting there pushing policies for Native Americans, Asians, LGBTQ. They're even pushing policies for people who are not American citizens, illegal aliens. Even with all the data that's afflicting us, freedmen, Black Americans, descendants of the people who were enslaved by the American government, they still don't have the heart guts or the courage to do policies for us. So if they ain't doing it now, it ain't never going to happen.
Right.
But do you think also? Do you think part of that though is a lot of those people that we're learning that are in the Congressional Black Caucus, they are not of Black American descent or freedmen descent. A lot of them come from first and second generation immigrant background. So there's already a conflict of interest. How do you feel about that?
Most of the coons, and I know people say, "Oh, you say coon, you say coon." Yeah, if the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe fit, you can't wear it. Cinderella, right? Okay, Cinderella here.
Right.
So let's do Cinderella. If the shoe ain't yours, you don't gotta worry about it. So if you're not a coon, if you're not putting other groups above our people, and you're not doing policy, you're not supporting things that hurt us, then you're not a coon. If you get offended by me saying the word coon, that means you're one, and I ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay.
Right.
Most other coons I met have been Black American freedmen. I'm just gonna be very honest with you. Of course, there are immigrants, Black immigrants, who go on the coon ship too. That is like putting salt in the wounds. How dare you come here on the legacy of my people, on the legacy of my parents? Because our parents were born to Jim Crow too. Y'all know our parents were born into redlining. My parents were born in the 1960s. America was still hipping and hopping and pretty good on Jim Crow, redlining, you name it. So this is our parents' legacy. How dare you come take advantage of the fact that you physically resemble us, but then turn around and align with policies and people that hate us? But no, I think the Congressional Black Caucus, the reason those people get elected, the reason they get put on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC, and they get put on, all these other mainstream platforms, is because they are the type of people who will sell out, who don't give a damn about us, and who are not going to stand their ground for us. The reason they aren't coming looking for me, the mainstream media, if you want to call it, I think y'all the mainstream media, but mainstream for me. See, mainstream is relative. I don't even listen to what they say. I listen to what they say just to hear the new BS they're putting out. The reason those people get to where they are is because they're sellouts. That's why they get there now. And they play the role accordingly. I remember when that awful school shooting happened in Connecticut, Sandy Hook.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a teacher, so of course school shootings resonate deeply with me. Remember the Democrats did their little sit-in for gun violence? They sat in, that lasted, Mitch McConnell laughed at them and pretty much had the janitors sweep them up. Remember, he literally took the janitor, okay, don't go ahead and leave. But you see what they did, right? And then you see for voting rights, they went there and saying, "We shall overcome," and got taken out in handcuffs. You could tell the pictures were staged.
Yeah.
Getting
fake arrested.
Right. Then remember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? She went to the border.
Don't get me started.
Cried about the kids at the border. And then Maxine Waters went out there with the umbrella and said, those Haitians being whipped by those Border Patrol agents on horseback, which, by the way, of course, it was anti-blackness, because they ain't never treat the lighter skin looking Latinos like that. But they sure put out the whip for the Haitians who are Latinos too, because they're from from a country that speaks of a Latin language.
Hispaniola.
Right. She said that it was it was worse or something like slavery. You see all these big, bold gestures and actions they take for every other group. Yet, what are they doing about California, where Maxine Waters served? I used to have high respect for Maxine Waters. I still have a hard time criticizing her, but she deserves it. The shoe fits. What is Maxine Waters doing about the fact that Black Americans or Black people, and most of those Black people, a lot of those Black people are not even American, Black people in California, only 5% of the population, but make up 50% of the homeless. Where are the tears for that? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, where are you? Democrats, for whom we vote for. People say to me, why don't you criticize Republicans? First of all, let me explain something. I always use this analogy here. Walmart, Target. If I buy a PlayStation 5 from Walmart and it's defective, I'm not going to go to Target and say, hey, y'all sold me a defective product. Give me my money. I'm going to go to Walmart. Okay? Because Walmart is the place where I gave my money. I invested in them. Likewise, Black Americans vote over 95% for the Democrats. So don't come to me when we hold them accountable asking, why we're the Republicans? Because we did not invest in them. The Democrats will not even be a viable political party if not for the votes of Black Americans. And yet they do policies for every other group besides us. And the moment we say, give us policies, reparations, fixed heirs property,
where we going to do that at? Where we going to get the money?
about police brutality. It doesn't work that way. Isn't that what Obama told the reporter? When a white man asked Obama, Black Americans really are the reason you have gotten elected and reelected. Don't you feel you need to do something specifically for them? You did DACA for the Dreamers. You legalized gay marriage. You saved the white middle class, because when the Great Recession was happening, white wealth and Black wealth, the little we had, was falling. If you look at the recovery of the Great Recession, white people have not only recovered their lost wealth, they've doubled it, in some cases tripled, quadrupled it. Black Americans, we never recovered. Our home ownership rates fell to right around 40, 39%. They were never high to begin with, and they are still dropping. So when we ask them, we get excuses. But yet, if it's so hard to do policies for a specific group, how come right now as we speak, y'all trying to do a policies for illegal immigrants who are not Americans? The New Deal for New Americans. Where the hell is the better deal for Black Americans? We were the ones left out of the Homestead Act of 1781. We were the ones left out of the Homestead Act of the 1820s. We were the ones left out of the GI Bill. We were the ones left out of the Social Security Act. We were the ones left out of the New Deal. It was our Black Wall Streets that were burnt to the ground, over 50 of them. It was our people who were being hung from trees. It was our people who were being subjected to racial massacres, being subjected to job and wage discrimination. Our people forced into sharecropping, which was really just an extension of slavery that didn't even end in this country until the 1960s. That was us.
Right.
The Freedmen's Bank was for us. How the hell in this country, during the time where this country literally had Jim Crow or Black codes, as they were called, on the books in the 1800s, we got more policies for us then than we did now. Congress passed 2 Freedmen's Bureaus Act. That's why I say we're the freemen. 2 acts for us to get land, to get health care. That was in the 1800s, but they were still debating whether we were human or not. Now, fast forward to 2022, there are like 50-something representatives in the Congressional Black Caucus, and now you're telling us we can't get anything, but we did during the era of Civil War and Reconstruction? They need to go.
Let me slow you down, brother. Let me slow you down real quick, brother. You on fire, and I definitely appreciate it. But I also want to questions in the chat. I want to make people aware of how they can support you as well. And so we need y'all to visit Marcel's website at marcelforcongress.com and click that donation button, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because there's many ways that we can support, people like Marcel who are out here, pushing our agenda, right? And even if you're not in the district and you're not able to support them with your vote, you could definitely support them with your money. And I'm sure that it will be going towards something very useful, to help this brother get elected. You know what I'm saying? So definitely go to marcelforcongress.com and use your money to support this brother. And I want to get into some of your agenda. You know what I'm saying? You breaking down a lot of the history, you breaking down a lot of the game about what the issues are. And so we want to talk a bit about what your plans are once you do get elected, and how we're going to go about remedying some of these issues, right? So talk a little bit about the better deal for Black America. Break that down for us.
The better deal for Black America is a reference to what I just said, how we have been excluded from all of these big, bold government initiatives that put trillions of dollars in current value into the American economy. The GI Bill it made 14 million white American men, mainly, and women, professionals who are now part of the middle class. The GI Bill gave away millions. 10% of all of the USA, the land, was given to white Americans mainly. And today, 55 million families can trace their wealth to that initiative. Social Security Act gave them pension and retirement that our people were excluded from for a long time. So I said, this country owes us. We never got a deal. So the better deal for Black America, the first thing I'm going to do is restore the Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Bureau, for those who are not aware, I kind of already referenced it, was a branch of the government. It was a part of the War Department, and it was established throughout this country to assist with freedmen and refugees. Refugees refer to white people who were not a part of the Confederacy, who were misplaced, and to freed blacks who were misplaced by the Civil War. But the majority were freemen, who were those who were formerly enslaved. It made sure they were fed. It was to make sure they got housing, they got land, they got health care, they were treated well. Of course, it was sabotage. Congress literally sabotaged it because Abraham Lincoln's anti-black vice president, Andrew Johnson, he allowed the southern states, instead of punishing people who turned on this nation, he allowed them to get into positions of power and pass anti-black laws that made it impossible for the Freedmen's Bureau to do its job, and eventually Congress got rid of it. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to have the Freedmen's Bureau finish the job. Black Americans make up the majority of the homeless. Why? Because what was the main cause of lynching? Anti-blackness and a desire for anti-black terrorists to steal our land. And that they did. They stole our land through lynching and through a system called heirs property, where we weren't allowed to get a lawyer. We couldn't afford it because we had no money. We couldn't read. And some states, it was illegal for us to get legal representation. So our land had no will. So what they would do is a white person would buy an heirs part and then just say to a judge, here, this is the value of their property. This way everybody gets a cut. Of course, it will not be the actual value. And we didn't get a say, and they will force us off our land. The USDA helped with that by not giving us access to the grants that they gave to white farmers. So our land was taken from us. The Freedmen's Bureau is going to help us get back the land. They're going to help disperse the land that we are going to get through my Better Deal plan. I'm going to work with the Bureau of Land Management. Eminent domain is a part of the government that was also used to take land from us. They will buy our property, run roads through it. I know you are in California, and you know about the black family who Bruce's Beach that was taken from them via eminent domain. They just got it back for them via eminent domain. So that is what I am going to use to get our land that we have lost. It may not be the exact same property, but it's going to be an equivalent to the estimated land that was stolen from us, working with the Bureau of Land Management. We're also going to reform heirs property. We're having all black American freeman families that are heirs to heirs property get full equity, get their allotment of land, and helping them clear a will. Both of those will immediately put billions upon billions upon billions, if not trillions of dollars into Black America. Also, I am going to have direct monetary payments. There's a reason why I'm saying monetary and not cash. I believe that monetary will be more important. It'll go directly to you. It doesn't have to be minted. It doesn't have to be printed. It can go directly to you in your account the same way they do with Social Security and retirement. The monetary payment is not just going to be to close the racial wealth gap between white Americans and Black Americans. It's going to be to make sure that we receive the wealth that our ancestors should have had for us to inherit that we never did. But it's also going to be for the harms that was done. A man here in South Carolina, I do not remember the name, but y'all can look it up, in Myrtle Beach, was being enslaved by a guy at a fried chicken restaurant. This was like in 2020. And he sued the guy, and they were able to get him all the wages he was owed. But guess what the federal government did? This is a good thing. They said, hold on. You're not just going to pay him what you owe him. You're going to pay for the emotional, psychological harms you have done to him and for the lost opportunities. So if the American government, in this case, and that was right here in South Carolina, go figure. If the American government can say, not only do you pay someone what you owe them, you also pay them for lost opportunities. You pay them for damage done. The federal government is going to do that as well. Another part of the better deal for Black America is that the same way Native Americans in the 1800s and during the Indian Removal Act, which of course was a very dark thing, but we were a part of that too. They don't tell you about the Black Americans that those Native Americans had as slaves, and we never got recognition. And those people, the descendants of those slaves, are fighting those same Native American tribes who want us to feel sorry for them and their plight, but they're discriminating against our people who have a right to that as well. But I digress. It is also going to give us federally allotted land, enclaves, just for freedmen. It's going to be post offices, hospitals, banks, just for us. Only we can live there. We don't have to live there, but we could if we choose. The same way Native Americans can live on a reservation, or they can live outside of the reservation. All of this nation would not exist if not for us, whether it was a slave state or a free state. We defended all of this nation. We sustain all of this nation. The federal government represents every state in this nation. So therefore, we deserve to have federally allotted land just for us throughout this entire nation. How we're going to get those things is by having special class protection.
That was my next question.
I wrote that down.
Say where you got the 5 tribes, and a lot of Native American tribes have special protection. They're tax exempt. They get policies done for them. Like James Clyburn just wrote a reparations bill for the Catawba Native Americans who used to enslave people that look like us. Not only they used to enslave us here in South Carolina and North Carolina, they used to hunt us down. They were contracted to hunt us down. And yet he just wrote a reparations bill giving them more land. Not trying to save the land of the colored people, but giving them more. But the reason he was able to do that in part is because they have that class protection. Funny, he's never written a bill for us to get that class protection. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Once we get that class protection, which technically we already have, we'll talk about that some other time, we can get policies specific for us with that class protection. But guess what? We don't even really need it. But that will be an easier way to facilitate it. That will help us to get the tax exemption status. That will help us to get the debt cancellation. And that will also help make it easier for the Freedmen's Bureau to identify us and our descendants from here and into the future.
So I have a question, right? This all sounds great, but at the same time, it sounds like a very tall order. So for those of us that don't really know, what is the job function of this seat that you're running for and the powers that someone like a James Clyburn actually has? Because if we can't even get a president, you know what I'm saying, to say that he could do any of these things for us, you know, how can a congressman get all of these things that you're proposing done?
Well, James Clyburn was able to get us a president. He's the one that everybody accredits with getting Joe Biden elected. Remember, we know Joe and Joe. Remember that? So, that's why they call him the Kingmaker. So it's not that we can't do it, because he could have easily gotten policies demand from Joe Biden saying, hey, I'm the reason you got elected. Now, here's what you're going to do for my people. When a white reporter asked him, what do you feel? Do you feel Joe Biden owes you something? You owe me nothing. I just want to land for my kids and grandkids. Yeah. But you know, I got to respect the man. He was honest, because that's all he really cares about, his kids and grandkids. Because if you look at his record, he just got his daughter a federal job. She got a job appointed by Biden. I'm not saying she's not qualified for the job, but I'm saying if you don't think he asked for that, we're fooling ourselves. When Obama got elected, he got one of Clyburn's daughters a job. His grandson's now working for his campaign. So he is really looking out for his kids and grandkids. What about our kids and grandkids? What about our uncles, cousins, brothers, aunts, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, okay, who look like you and I? So we can do it. I have to push back a little bit of that. We can. He could have easily said to Joe Biden, check this out here. I got you elected. Now, if you don't start doing for my people reparations, you can pass Joe Biden, who's a segregationist. I want to be on record saying that. My hands in the air. I want to be on record saying that. I mean, he's on
the record saying it.
He's on the record saying it.
Right, exactly. He sure is. He could have said, Joe Biden can easily do he can easily bring like the Freedmen's Bureau. At the very least, he can make it an executive agency. There are several parts of the government that are executive agencies where the president could appoint cabinets, don't even need congressional approval. The War Department is what started the Freedmen's Bureau in the first place, okay? It was done by Abraham Lincoln. It was started by Abraham Lincoln. That same structure exists now. James Clyburn easily say, why are you not doing that? And if you don't do that, I'm going to go on a media tour and I'm going to call you out. He should have done that before he endorsed him. So we can do it. We're just not. To answer your question, I am running to be a representative in the U.S. House of Representatives. James Clyburn has a lot of power. Right now, he's the whip. So he's really the majority whip. Democrat. The whip is the person who really gets the votes. So every piece of legislation that passes, he has a hand in it. So I don't know if you remember when this Build Back Better or the infrastructure bill passed. Yeah, Clyburn was bragging. You didn't read the article? He was bragging about how he got 12 or 13 Republicans to vote for it. Y'all can Google it. It just came out like some weeks ago. Yeah. He was bragging about that. So you better believe these bills going through. Oh, and he just got a bill done. I want to repeat this for the Catawba Native Americans here in South Carolina. There's only 3,000 of them here in South Carolina. There are nearly 2 million Black Americans in South Carolina. He looks out for a small group that used to enslave us, saying that they deserve repair for what's been done to us. I guess we don't. So he has the capacity to get bills done. He's good at what he does. And what he does best is ignoring and neglecting the hell out of us. The power I am going to have is the power all congressional representatives have. I am going to be able to write legislation and bring it to the floor. Let me say what I always say. A leader is just not for what they accomplish. A leader is also for what he or she fights to accomplish. A person can respect you if they see you at least got up and you really tried to make it happen. If you try to make it happen and the powers that be shut it down, that is outside of your control. But a lot of times with us as Black Americans, when we fight, we win, even if it's not right away. The issue is our leaders have not fought for us. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to introduce legislation. I am going to hold my vote or vote against legislation that does not prioritize us. But most of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my platform to call out the anti-Blackness and the neglect. When I put legislation forward, because my package, I refer to my reparations policy as a reparations package. When I put the legislation forward, such as for land, I'm going to go to all the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm going to go to any white Democrat who's in their seat because of Black votes, whether we're the majority or we are decisive influence. And if they don't co-sponsor and make it a priority, you're not just going to co-sponsor it and say nothing about it. If they don't co-sponsor and make it a priority, I've already said this, I'm going to use my platform to call them out directly to their constituents. Because you see, a lot of these politicians, they like the fact that a lot of us are not politically engaged. They like the fact that we just really kind of vote and we don't get nothing in return and we don't demand nothing in return. No other group does that besides us Black Americans. Right. Okay? Right. These Hispanics are voting, and not all of them, but a lot of them are voting on the fact that immigration reform. I don't know what there is to reform. Obey the damn law and you won't get deported. And don't come in if you're not coming legally. I don't know what's there to reform, but that's all the conversation. Asians, the two Asian senators, Hirono and Duckworth, said, we not voting for a piece of legislation until you do something to protect Asian Americans. It's only two of them.
And it was done.
More Black Americans empowered than that. But what happened as our people? Sometimes we don't care about the politicians selling us out. That is the truth for some of us. But with some of us, we just don't know. I am going to have the resources to go to these districts, speak to constituents, say, this is our reality here. You may not know it, but you're living it. This is the legislation I'm putting forward, and this is what it's going to do. This is your representative who gets this many votes from you and will not be empowered because of you, and they're not helping me get this through. And let them explain to their voters why they're not going through. Pressure works.
So calling them out, just calling them out, putting them on the spot.
Exactly. But look, y'all, I see this comment here. That doesn't apply to me, so I'm ignoring it. I'm not one of those people who folds and compromises, so I can't help if people are skeptical. I understand it.
I was just going to ask how you respond to that type of
stuff. Yeah, I tell people that ain't me, but believe what you like, but I'm gonna do what I do. So I understand why we're skeptical. I'm compassionate toward people who have skepticism, but what I ain't gonna do is spend all damn day telling you that ain't gonna be me. If you are insisting on believing that,
what do we have to lose at this point? You're not getting nothing now. You have someone here that wanted to
say people who will say that
policies specifically for you, right? So what do you have to lose at this point, or being skeptical with someone who has a full-out plan that is completely for Black America versus the person that you have sitting in the seat now doing nothing? So all these questions, as far as, or some of the questions should be asked for the person that's sitting there now.
Right.
Because
but that doesn't happen. Right, yeah, exactly. They should be going to him saying, whoa. But here I am, and I said to people, if I ever met a candidate like me, and I said, this guy's probably fooling me, I'm just going to be fooled then, because your policies are speaking to me, okay? There ain't never been none of these people in the Congressional Black Caucus. Ain't none of them ever ran on a platform like mine. Ain't none of them ever had a logo, even say blame Black America, repair Black America. They are afraid to say the word Black. They don't even say Black anymore. They say people of color and minorities. And what's another one they say now? Black and brown.
Marginalized communities.
Or BIPOC.
Impoverished.
So my thing, I'm already doing more than them by just saying the damn word Black. That's how low of a bar they've set. I'm already doing more than them because I haven't been on Twitter going to some of my fellow candidates who are running for office, and I already got one of them. He's telling me not to say his name, but I don't know why in hell you will put it on your platform. What's the damn secret? But I'm going to respect his wishes. But I have the image and I put it in my Twitter account, and I went to his DMs. I said, whoa, you progressive? You not a progressive if you not for reparations. Period. Reparations for Black Americans is the ultimate benchmark of progressivism. If you don't have that, you're not progressive. I was going in on him. He was like, after much soul searching, I'm going to add revenue to my platform. Now, let me tell you what really happened. He's no damn soul searching. Here's what people do. Here's what a lot of people want, by the way. People really want me to be like Clyburn. Let's be honest. People claim they're about that life. They want that energy. No, what a lot of our people want, they want a Clyburn. So maybe we get too mad at how maybe Clyburn realize that, hey, you know what? They ain't gonna appreciate nothing, so they're gonna doubt you anyways. Don't do that for them. But a lot of our people want a Clyburn, and what I mean by that, if they want someone who's cookie cutter, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? And they want someone who doesn't just do what's right. They want someone who's all cookie cutter, business as usual. I ain't business as usual. So what this guy did, and I'm sure he did it, he probably had a poll done. He probably has a big team. He probably did a survey with some of his supporters saying, what do you think about reparations? And some of the progressives probably said, oh, I'll support it. Those same progressives are going to go to the polls and vote for the Republican. But anyway, that's a whole other story, though. See, I don't do polls. I don't care about if it's popular. I always say this. A leader is not supposed to be concerned. about if something is popular. A leader is not supposed to be concerned about if something is easy. A leader is only supposed to concern themselves with whether something is right. So I don't give a damn if the polls are showing reparations are popular with this or that. If it's the right thing to do, I'm going to do it. It's the right thing to do.
And it's old.
Exactly.
It's overdue. It's overdue.
Been old.
Right. Okay. So talk a little bit about the transportation situation and what your plans are as far as transportation. I know the situation in those rural areas like where you're from are particularly dire. So what are some of your plans as far as the transportation issues?
You're right. Living in a rural area, many people struggle with access to transportation. And it bothers me because when people hear rural America, I know what the media show. They show like Joe the plumber, usually a white guy in a pickup truck, shotgun in the back, may throw a Confederate flag in the air, this stuff for little fine touches. No, there are plenty of black areas in rural America, especially in the South. Damn sure in South Carolina. There was a study done showing that a lot of Americans would struggle coming up with just $400 in the event of an emergency. A lot of black Americans would probably struggle coming up with $40 in the event of an emergency. And I'm not making it up. Right. I know people who literally would. So imagine if a car goes down, you get a flat tire, and a tire is going to run you around $100. That means that person can't get to work. That means that person can't get to the hospital. They can't get to the grocery store. There are a lot of food deserts around here. There's a town in my area called Yamasee, which is right by me. They have to travel either to Beaufort, South Carolina, or maybe to Bluffton, South Carolina, or they might just take the trip and they may go to Hampton, but Hampton's a very, very rural town too. Or they might just even take the trip and go to Savannah, Georgia, or may go to Charleston. They have to travel just to get food, okay? There are people who are sending their kids to schools that are public schools, but they don't have transportation provided for them because they're charter schools. They have to travel to take their kids to school. Some people have to travel to take their kids to daycare. In a rural area, I'm not talking about just 2 minutes down the street. I'm talking about driving for miles upon miles upon miles. If you can't come up with $400, you definitely can't come up with enough money to cover a car repair that's going to be more than $400. So, one aspect of my plan, working through the Department of Transportation, is I feel that we can provide assistance for people to get food, and we can provide home ownership assistance, and we can provide assistance for people to get access to health care, then we can provide assistance for people to keep their vehicles maintained or to have a well-functioning vehicle. Because some of us, the irony is you can't afford a new vehicle, but you spend so much money repairing an older vehicle, all the money you spent repairing it, you could have probably bought a new vehicle. But here's the problem. You probably could afford the down payment for a new vehicle, but you probably can't afford the insurance. Or you have the money for a down payment, but you don't have the credit. So you got to make a big down payment and you got to make higher monthly payments. Those type of things leaves many people of all different backgrounds, because this is one of my universal policies, but Black Americans, more than any other group, struggles the most with access to transportation. That's why you have kids in my rural area who live in a coastal region who have rarely ever seen the ocean. That's why I meet some adults, older adults, who are in their 60s and 70s, who have rarely left this area. I kid you not. I went on a trip to Canada once, and one of my friends, I'm not going to say his name, he was like, this is my first time really getting out of South Carolina and Georgia. And he was in his 70s. It's because of the lack of transportation. So transportation, in my opinion, is a human right. Now, in the cities, maybe public, and I know not all cities. I know in Los Angeles is very car reliant. But I know in the cities, you could expand public transportation infrastructure. That needs to happen here in the rural areas too, because there are counties and countries where rural areas are pretty well connected with public transportation. But people also need to have their own form of transportation in the rural areas. That'll be the quickest, most efficient way. That way they'll be able to get to their jobs. They'll be able to get to the hospital, get to the post office, get to a job interview, go to that college, go to that better paying job, go to that grocery store that actually has nutritious food. But also, socially speaking, they'll be able to go to play in the park. They'll be able to take their kids to the beach, go to a picnic, go and see their family and friends, go and see our beautiful country here in America. And most of all, go to these town halls and question these politicians about what they're doing and not doing too.
Right.
So, other thing that I wanted you to touch on, I know you're running as a Democrat, and you kind of explained a little bit earlier why with the analogy you had with Walmart and Target. But some of the policies that you have, like, you know, you're not the type of person that can really be put in a box, right? Because I know, for one, you are for banning abortions except for medical purposes. What do you say to some of our people who might have a problem with your stance on abortion?
It's Black genocide.
Margaret Sanger, who's the founder of Planned Parenthood, was once quoted, and I know people try to say that there's more to the story, but hell, you shouldn't have damn business saying it, that we have to minimize the Negro population, okay? And then she founded Planned Parenthood, which a lot of Black women and girls use to get an abortion. I also want to say this here. With all the research I've done, I've discovered that abortion is an economical, political issue, because over 80% of Black women say the reason they get an abortion is because of economic hardships. Why do we have economic hardships? Because the same way white American women inherited wealth from their grandparents, homes, and businesses, at one time they used to inherit us, their slaves.
Yep.
We inherited the poverty, the trauma, and the legacy of anti-Blackness. So we need to ask ourselves, when our Black American women have an abortion, is it because they wanted to, or is it because they were forced to because of the economic hardship we have had in this country because of the policies that have not been passed to get us the reparations we deserve? That's a conversation that a lot of people don't want to have. Another conversation I will have with people is that where are the majority of abortion clinics located? Do the research. Go ahead, y'all. Do the research.
I can walk through about 4 of them.
Right, in Black neighborhoods. Now, tell me this. Do Black neighborhoods generally have good schools that are well funded? Nope. Which neighborhoods are most likely to have food deserts? Black neighborhoods. So we don't got good grocery stores, so take that off. Right. Let's cross me off. Right. Do we have well-paying jobs? Nope. Do we have job training programs? Nope. Hospitals? Nope. Do we have good access to health care, mental health, non-profits that are really doing good for us? Nope. Do we have politicians that are standing up to fight for us? Nope. But we got abortion clinics. If we don't see
red flag,
if we don't see that this is something wrong with that, then whoever thinks that is nothing weird about that, I have no words. I also want to say to people, I read a comment saying that you're not going to tell Black women what to do with their bodies. That's what happened during slavery. Wrong. What happened during slavery was them cutting our children, taking our children from us. Okay? And what happened during Reconstruction, when they were trying to exterminate us, they were cutting fetuses out of our Black women's bodies. They even did one in Washington, D.C. in the 1920s in public broad daylight.
Yep.
I also say to people, Look at your son, daughter, mother, father, person you love now. Imagine you're building a home. And here comes me, my old clumsy bad driving self. I drive to the home and your home all tore up. And you say, well, damn, you ruined my house. And I imagine if I get out that car and I say, it wasn't done yet, so it wasn't really a home. So now take a embryo, a fetus that is on its way to becoming a beautiful black girl or a beautiful black boy. You don't get to kill it and then say it wasn't a black girl or boy yet. It was on its way to becoming one. Since the 1970s, 20 million black babies have been aborted. 20 million. We are right now second-class status. Now, Hispanic is not a race. Let's make that very clear. They're not a race. It's an ethnicity. All of us on this panel be Hispanic. There are many Hispanics who look like us, but they're not freedmen. So they aren't like us. Even if it's an Afro-Latino, they don't have the same history as us. So now we are on our way to becoming third-class citizens. If we didn't get anything as second-class citizens, what do we, and look at all we're going through as second-class citizens, do we really want to imagine what we're going to go through as third-class citizens? If we had those 20 million additional Black American boys and girls who would have now been men and women, we would have had the numbers to where we could say to any politician, especially here in the South, you going to do this or we not voting for you. But because we don't have the numbers, we have to strategize even more. Now, there are enough of us to make a big difference. I know some people say, well, you contradict yourself. No, there are enough of us. But if we had those numbers, we would not even have to work as hard as we do now to get that type of policies. So it's hurt us. And there's a reason why they put them in our neighborhoods. I want to give Black women the option to live in a world where they have the economic circumstances where they don't feel they have to have an abortion, and you got this anti-Black country putting the abortion clinics in our neighborhoods, but they're not putting resources in our neighborhoods, and they damn sure not trying to give the Black people living in our neighborhoods who are descendants of American slaves, freemen like I am, and y'all are too, reparations.
It's the only way.
And so, as you were talking about them being so quick and enthusiastic about putting abortion clinics in our neighborhoods when they don't want to give us any of the other resources that we need or any of the real resources that we need, but they're quick to, promote abortion to us. I feel the same way with, and this is something I haven't heard you speak about yet, with the these mandates. With the shot that's going around, They quick to prioritize Black people when it comes to these mandates. What is your stance on these mandates with this pandemic that we're currently going through?
So my stance has always been that everyone has the responsibility to do their own research and to make their own health decisions. Now, there's a difference between me saying someone has the right to do something and that I support them doing it. A business has a right to require that someone adhere to certain protocol if they want to work there or even if they want to patronize that particular business. Some businesses don't allow people to enter if you don't have on a shirt. Some businesses don't allow people to enter if you're sagging your pants. So some businesses, within their legal right, are requiring vaccine mandates. Now, do I support it? Absolutely not. And I am not supporting it from the viewpoint of a Black American. And people talk about the Tuskegee experiment.
More than that.
No, we went through way more than that. Black women were literally experimented on by the person they credit being the founder of gynecology. Okay? Radiation experiments were done on us, and it goes on and on and on and on. My main reason, too, for not supporting vaccine mandates is that they haven't done enough to hold these vaccine manufacturers accountable. If you are so certain that these vaccines are so viable, and we need, and you're mandating that we take them, then you should be mandating that the manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies, be liable for any medical complications they cause. But they're not doing that. Not only are they not doing that, they are giving them up to something crazy, 7 decades
years
to release the data. So no, if they can't be held liable for whatever complications they cause, and you are protecting them from being sued, and you don't want them to release their research, that's a little too suspicious for me. So I don't support it, but I do acknowledge that there are institutions that have the right to require it, but it's not something I support.
All right. Got you. And I just wanted to throw into that too. You have a whole lot of these congressmen and politicians who are also making a hell of a lot of money off the stock series as well. So we can't sleep on that. So them pushing it on us obviously makes them a lot of money as well.
Exactly. Like I don't know if my opponent's one, but he does get a lot of donations from the pharmaceutical company. He's gotten over $1 million from pharmaceutical companies. So it wouldn't surprise me if he is, but even if he's not, you better believe he supports it.
Absolutely.
Right. And so again, man, let people know how they can support you. You know what I'm saying? I know you're not getting no donations from the pharmaceutical companies.
I'm not getting donations from quite a few people, but let me say this before I tell them that. You see how though, y'all not find it funny how they've spent billions, probably now trillions of dollars in getting the vaccines produced and getting them rolled out. And now they say the vaccines can be dispersed free of charge. Mm-hmm. You see how they pull money out of thin air?
Right.
But they can't do reparations. But they can't do reparations, though. Mm-hmm. You see how they were able to bail out the airlines when they spent their own money? So that's something to think about. But I want to say to people, you want to support me, here's what I need. First of all, donations. And I am trying to do a marathon each month. I'm ambitious, but I'm doing something ambitious. I'm trying to get 50 people to subscribe to commit to donating $50 to my campaign a month. If just this month alone happened, that will be $2,500. So if you can do it, if you can't, I will accept anything, and I will definitely accept more. But you can donate at the link that's Sincere marcelforcongress.com/donate. Of course, if more than 50 people want to donate, that's fine. If you want to commit to sending, $2,000, that's fine. You can go up to $2,900. And I promise you, I'm not going to be mad at you. Another thing is that if you are in South Carolina, or you are South Carolinian lineage, or you know someone in South Carolina, please tell them about my campaign. Yes, I am doing phone calls. Yes, I have commercials playing now on cable television about me. Yes, I'm speaking with people here on the ground, but nothing still beats that word of mouth. If you know someone in South Carolina, you yourself are in South Carolina, I am also going to give you my number to call me. And that is 843-940-8983. And they say politicians lie. I just lied to you. Don't call me. Text me. I ain't going to answer. I'm going to be honest with you. I ain't going to answer. You can call.
Say the number again.
It's 843-940-8983. I said it on one other interview, and people were like texting me right then and there. And someone actually just texted me just now. So yes, 843-940-8983. So donations and telling South Carolinians, or if you know a person who has a skill that I can use to help get the word out there, because I'm not trying to match my opponent's money. I don't need to get to where he is. I ain't trying to get to where he is. If I was trying to get to where he is, you should never vote for me. You can bet me. I'm not trying to get to where he is. I'm trying to get to you and your concerns.
Thank you. Well, I want to say this. As of last night, I personally donated. I've set myself up on auto draft at $50 a month, and I started yesterday, and it will be automatically deducted until you are elected. I'm not there in South Carolina, so I can't be there, but I am there with my dollars. And I implore anyone else out there who believes in, Marcel as we do, I implore you to do the same.
And that goes for me as well.
$50, whatever you can. If it's your coffee money, like I said, if you can give up, your Starbucks money between now and the primaries until he's elected, give up your Starbucks and make your coffee at home.
Right. And again, the same thing goes for me. I'll be donating as well, and I encourage you all to donate and support our brother with your dollars. And if you are in South Carolina, especially in the 6th district, support with your vote as well as your dollars. You know what I'm saying? And again, if anybody is able to volunteer in any type of way to help get the word out, you know what I'm saying? Whether you're good at digital marketing or running Facebook ads or
fundraising,
YouTube ads. Yes, anybody that has those type of skills, you got the phone number right there, 843-940-8983. Reach out to our brother, get involved so we can help get this brother elected, man, because we don't need Jim Clyburn in there any longer. He's been in there doing enough damage for the past 30 years. It's definitely time. It's definitely time for us to get in there and shake things up.
30 years
keep that number
with
up.
The 6th poorest district in the country. Out of 435 districts, his district is number 6 for poverty. And the majority of his district looks like you and I, 60%. And for children, 3rd out of 435. So 30 years, and this is the best you can do. So it's inexcusable and indefensible.
Period. I had someone tell me, I've been talking to people I don't even know, on social media, just saying, support this guy. And first thing out there, I'm like, going against Clyburn, that's going to be tough. And I'm just like, it's only tough if you make it tough. It's tough if you don't vote. It's tough if you don't donate. If you tired of it, all you have to do is vote and donate.
That's the most infuriating thing. And guess what I've been getting it from a lot of the men. And from a lot of the men who say they're reparationists, these same men who puff their chests up and beat on their chests up, they're real men. A lot of them have been talking that stuff. Not most now, but a lot. Well, look at Clyburn's numbers, man. He got $1 million. Man, look how many voters he got. First of all, 457,000 registered voters in my district. Clyburn has only, in his 30-year career, gotten over 200,000 voters. Only. Secondly, that was during 2012 when Obama went for his re-election and Clyburn didn't have any challengers.
So do you think that's because a lot of black people don't even know who Clyburn is? They just go vote blue all the way down the ballot.
Right.
He just kind of been getting reelected by default.
They don't know him, and 2, they don't feel like anything's going to change. So apathy. Another thing I want to say, he usually gets only 150,000 votes. So I need our people to get the spirit of our ancestors and stand up and fight. It's going to be tough if I don't win. If you think it's tough now for us, let Clyburn get reelected. You're going to see tough. If he's doing nothing now, if he wins, tough is the life we have now. So,
man, and that's that Obama shit. Oh, it's hard. It's hard to get things done. It wasn't hard for y'all to get that bill for the Asians. Right. It wasn't hard for y'all to get bills passed for the LGBT community.
You know what I'm
saying? It ain't hard for y'all to do nothing for nobody else, but when it comes to us, it's hard.
I mean, let's be clear too. They're talking about basically giving reparations to these illegals, 450,000. Oh, let me get them back on.
Go ahead, continue.
I'm sorry. $450,000 to these people who came here illegally. That's a form of reparations. That Joe Biden is talking about giving them $450,000 a family, to these people that were what they call the cages, which, you know, that started during Obama, but we ain't gonna go there either. You know what I'm saying? But $450,000 for people who came here illegally, broke the law. And he's talking about giving them some repair. Yet Black freedmen, foundational Black Americans still have nothing.
And may I say this? How long were Black men and Black women having their children taken from them? We were having our children taken for us for centuries. People in cages. Clyburn supported the crime bill of the 1990s that Biden wrote that put our people in cages, including our children. What about those people in gay cages? He said that people who came here were separated from their family deserve some compensation if they were separated from their kid for a week or two. First of all, they left their family in their countries of origin. They done broke up their family. Okay, I know a lot of people who come to this country legally. They leave. They leave their kids and stuff back in their home countries and send them over graduates. They already broke up their families. First of all. Second of all, though, if they deserve some compensation for being separated, imagine how much we deserve then for all the separation we done been through and the hell we've been through. That's why I'm running.
And that's a good point that you made, man. A lot of them will separate themselves. Like, you know, they get caught up at the border and say, well, just let my kid go. You know, send me back, but just let my kid go. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Well, I think it's a breath of fresh air. Black America is now circling our wagons. We're now putting ourselves first. We're not going along to get along. Right. We're not accepting this whole people of color, minority, people in poverty, Black American freedmen, foundational Black American, whatever you want to entitle it. As long as you descended from American chattel slavery, we are and have to now and going forward put ourselves first. Vote.
That's right.
With your dollars. With and that ballot, with your dollars and the ballot. It's no other way.
Right. All right. So my brother, man, again, I want to thank you for coming on, you know, taking the time to be here with us and, you know, being as passionate and as fiery as you are and as you have been and being transparent and accessible. You know, that's the major key right there that I think is going to lead to your success. You know what I'm saying? Because that's one thing that I can't get James Clyburn to come on here and talk to us. You know what I'm saying?
Neither can his constituents now.
Right.
So thank y'all so much for having me. I really appreciate it, especially on this day here.
Yeah, Dr. King Day. Absolutely. And so we're gonna end this how we normally would end our Black Business Showcase, because this is a special edition of the Black Business Showcase. Today we're dealing with the business of repairing Black America. So we're going to end this with our signature style, the way that we always do. So go ahead, Nicety girl, with your last question.
Okay, so I always like to end with this question. What does freedom mean to Marcel Dixon?
Freedom means that we have the autonomy to make our own decisions in our own community and with our people that we love, safe, sound, secure, and protected. Something we have never yet experienced in this country, but we have damn sure deserved it. And that's what I'm fighting to make sure we get.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And this is the part where I got to put you on the spot, brother. And so now you have the microphone. The entire Black community can hear what it is that you have to say. What parting words do you want to leave us all with tonight?
I want to say to us that nothing that we have started doing has not ever not been done. Okay? Abolition happened. The removal of anti-Black legislation during the Civil Rights Movement happened. Reparations is going to happen. But we have to make it happen. That's not fair, but that's the way it is. Instead of us trying to strategize and get these politicians who already see we're at the bottom, literally see us die, and they're not moved to do policies for us, it's time for us to stop kissing their behinds, stop strategizing to get policies from them, and it's time for us to rise up and replace them. They have experience. Well, look at where their experience has gotten us. They have experience. We have us. and we are enough. Let's rise up and let us replace them so we can get this here reparations done for us, by us. That's it.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
indeed.
Thank you very much for that, man. And so, family, again, click the like button, click the share button, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, and click the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we do go live with new content, as we do each and every week. We got another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast coming tomorrow at our normal time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, where we will be covering some of the current events, things that have been going on that are important to Black America, to the freedmen, to the foundational Black Americans, the former slaves that built this country for free and who are owed a blood debt that we coming to get, right?
Right.
And so that's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. So make sure y'all come check us out. Same channel, wherever you're watching us from right now, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, or whether you're on Twitter. We're going to be live in all of those same places, wherever you may be watching us from right now, or if you're checking us out on the replay or whatever. We definitely appreciate all of y'all being here, all of the energy in the chat. Y'all was on fire tonight. Definitely appreciate everybody contributing in the chat as well. And that does it for this episode. So like I always tell you guys, man, we are not the master teachers. We are only the master students and signal boosters for the voices of the new Black media. Appreciate y'all tapping in with us.
Okay, so I'm gonna do something a little different tonight, only because God put it on my spirit to do this, and because I want to make sure that people do support Marcel. I am going to end tonight with a scripture, 2 Corinthians 9:7. So let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. Let's make sure that we get behind this man cheerfully, right? Because I believe I see the passion, I hear the passion, and I believe that he's going to do what he said that he's going to do. And this is the type of energy we've been saying that we want. So let's get behind it and support it in all ways that we can. See you guys tomorrow on the Sincere Love the Godcast, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Peace out, family.
We take y'all Black to the future.
Hey.
Peace.
Do for self or suffer the consequences. The wisdom of a